Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Diana. I'm a third year. I started, I grew up my whole life in a Hispanic church, and I started worship dancing when I was 6 years old. Originally, I only started because my cousin was like, it'll be fun, and it was, but it grew to be so much more than that, especially as I came to really understand what worship dance really is. Worship dance is a way of talking to God with your body and your instruments. And when I say instruments, I'm referring to flags, streamers, tambourines, mantos. Mantos are just the cloth that you move back and forth. You might have seen them if you were at Yahweh Night last year. And different colors have different meanings. Different instruments can be used for different things. A flag, you use it strong and hard enough, means victory. And what worship dance has meant to me, it's been my whole life. Like I said, I started when I was 6, and I did it up until I came to college. It taught me discipline, going to rehearsals once every week, getting to church early on Sunday morning to pray before we danced. But more importantly, as a Christian, everything we do in our whole life is for Christ. But sometimes we forget that. We forget that in the middle of exams, assignments, friends, homework. But worship dance always started with a prayer and ended with a prayer. And everything in between you knew was always solely for God. I love worship dance. And I love it because there was a time in my life where I couldn't talk to God. And it wasn't because I stopped trusting God. It's not because I stopped going to church. It's because I couldn't tell him what was happening. When I was 11 years old, my house burned down. And everyone told me, be strong for your mom. And as a 5th grader, I took that as, I can't let my mom know I'm sad. I can't let her see that I'm affected by this because this will make her sadder. And so as I grew up, I stopped allowing myself to express sadness and feel sadness. How was I going to be honest with God when I wasn't being honest with myself? Worship dance became the only way I had to be able to tell God what I needed, especially as my divide grew bigger because I started battling depression and anxiety. Worship dance became my way of telling God, I adore you, I love you, and I need you. And it also became the way that I felt God's response. It's how I felt God tell me that he's there for me. He loves me, and he's giving me strength to go day by day. I really think worship dance saved my relationship with God, because otherwise I would have had no other way to have a direct relationship with God. Last year's Yahweh Night, I was able to bring instruments from home, and that meant the world to me, because I never thought that I would be able to see that type of worship here at UVA. And God's timing's perfect. He knew that I needed that. I needed that comfort. I needed that familiarity at that time last semester. So for those of you who are watching and those of you here who have worship dance at home, at your churches, I hope this is a taste of home. I hope this brings you comfort, especially during this chaotic and weird semester. And for those of you who have no experience with worship dance, I hope this leaves a good impression and a good insight of what worship dance really is. Currently, right now, I am still struggling a lot with mental health, especially because this semester has been the worst my anxiety and mood swings have ever been. But Yahweh Night rehearsals, for me, were an anchor that always pointed me back to God. And so what I really want you guys to take away is that there's many different ways of communicating with God. And God really will meet you where you're at. He will give you a way where you don't see a way. So